I'm not looking at you. Oh boy.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Stephanie.
And you are listening to Pastors' Wives Tell All,
A podcast by pastors' wives for church leaders and anyone desiring to take a peek inside our glass house.
We are breaking down walls and crushing pastors' wives stereotypes within the church.
We want pastors' wives and other ministry leaders to know that they are not alone in this. Plus, this is basically therapy for the three of us with a whole lot of dance parties. Whoop, whoop.
Hey friends, welcome back to Pastors' Wives Tell All. I am sitting here today with my two besties.
That's right.
That's right. And
Don't you know?
Oh, don't you know?
Sorry, I'm still in Minnesota.
Yeah. We went to Minnesota. It was a lot of fun. We came back speaking like Minnesota.
I love it. I love it.
Not really. They're probably cringing at our accents, trying to be like them.
Yes, so true.
You betcha.
Yes.
Anyway, back to the episode. We're a little bit loopy, a little bit tired.
It's true.
Which is appropriate for the topic today.
I see what you did there.
Oh, everybody, let's just take
Just
an
go
exhale.
like this. Go. Wow. I feel like Jessica's exhale was a little
Intense.
Yes.
Yeah.
But back to Minnesota. While we were at that gorgeous, clear blue lake, the most clear lake I've ever seen in my life. Y'all,
it's beautiful.
You could see to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Insane. You know, we had some be still time while we were there, and it's really hard for me to be still. And the Lord kind of spoke something to me that made me go, oh, wait, what? I literally felt like the Holy Spirit said, take a nap. And I was like, what? Did I hear that right?
Come
Is
again,
that me
Lord?
being selfish? Like, do I just want to sleep? I don't know. And I felt like he said, you don't have to be productive. Because normally in Be Still time afterwards, you share like, what did the Lord teach you or what did he show you? And to me, that felt very unproductive to take a nap. But he just started whispering a few things over my heart that I am actually scared to be Mary. And what I mean by that, you know, we talk about Mary and Martha. Mary sitting at Jesus' feet. You want to know why I'm scared to be Mary? I'm scared of Martha's judgment, whether that's other people judging, whether that's myself judging my own actions. But I realized that I want to be the person that's doing so other people will see that, whether in my church, my friends. I also think I'm going to be a bad friend. If I'm not helping and doing and constantly thinking of ways to help them figure out their lives, then I'm not being a very good friend, and I need to, work on that. But lately, not just there, but in other conversations with these two and just in my life, conversation I have with my husband, I realized I'm having a problem with rest, like true rest. Not just because even my rest is productive sometimes, or what I call rest ends up being productive. Whether that's, oh, well, let me go spend time with the kids, but I got to do it in this certain way so that they all feel seen and loved and whatever. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but when constantly every time I go to rest from work, and I say that kind of lightly, rest, I end up thinking of stuff to do that will make my life better and the people's lives around me better.
Yeah.
But God is not expecting me to work for my rest. Like I need to literally work from rest, like rest so that I can go out and do the job. But I'm realizing that has not been the way I've been living my life. And so literally in every area, he's just been like opening up this thought of, you have got to just be with me. You have got to just rest and not be with me like, oh, we're coming up with the next, Bible study or the next small group lesson or content for the podcast. And he's going, I am not your content. The Lord is saying, I that's not what I want to be for you. Like, I just want to be with you. And I want you to have that rest, that Sabbath rest that he gave us so long ago that we should be taking. Yeah. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to share some of that and how that could play out maybe for people listening, how it affects us when we are ministering and how we go to the mindset. Maybe there are other people who are fearful, or maybe they're just like, there could be other reasons. Like, Jenna, I know that you recently had to make a few changes in order to be present and to rest. So what was your thinking behind that? Like, what have you been struggling with? And then what did you decide to implement to help?
Well, plain and simple, I struggle with not putting my work down when my family is here. So I'll work on my computer all day long, and then my kids will come home from school, and because there's still things to be done, I'll think I need to do this now, because otherwise I'll either forget something that needs to be done or I won't have margin, because I do like to batch work. I like to do get a bunch done all at one time. That way I do have like a week, like collectively, to just do what I want to do. Okay. And so I have a really hard time rationing out my work schedule. And on this Minnesota retreat, that's part of what God spoke to me during our Be Still time, was that I have got to put my phone away. I've got to put my computer away when my kids are at home. I've got to be more intentional in making time for family, being here. And there's so many things, so many good things that will come from that. And I know this, but it's just the thing that I struggle with the most is putting my work down. And so, the last day that we were there, the day before we left, we all threw whatever we could find on the ground at the moment. We picked it up, and, there's the cliche, throw whatever in the water that you need to change or that you need to get rid of, or whatever it is. And that's what it was. I was like, I'm going to be intentional in setting work hours when I come back from this retreat. And I'm going to put whatever I can into place, whatever boundaries I need to, in order to keep it that way, because that is what I need. And I know myself enough that if I don't put those boundaries in place, I will be tempted to pick up my phone when my family's at home. And my family will suffer because of that, if I don't have those boundaries in place. So yeah, we are very similar in that we feel like we need to be productive, Stephanie. Like I just have a really hard time sitting still. I'm like, if there is a lull in the day, there's got to be some laundry or something that needs to be done. Like, let me get on top of it, or if something needs to be organized, like my kid's closet or something like that, or we need to go through the clothes. Like, I just feel like there's always something that needs to be done. So I have a really hard time not being productive and just letting things sit or wait until another day. I just do.
Absolutely. Jessica, do you feel like you struggle with this at all? With the struggle to rest, or do you think it comes a little more naturally?
She's definitely better than we are.
I would say like I've definitely been through seasons, but I do believe that I think my issue earlier on in ministry was just saying yes to too much. But I do believe, like, I think my mom really modeled this pretty well in our life, like that quiet time with the Lord. And I watched that happen, especially now I watch it even more. And when we're talking, like, here, I know if I called her in a certain time, she is in the Word, like in the morning every day. And that's kind of how I am too. But I would say that was more of an issue for me. I do believe that people might think that I am going all the time and very busy and all that, like we all do with our own lives. But I think in this moment in my life, I'm actually okay with rest because I'm intentional about it. And that doesn't mean that rest is happening all the time. Like, if there's a day where nothing is on the calendar, which doesn't happen often, but when we come home from retreat, I really do try to, that first day I'm home, just completely shut off the phone, not shut off, but just put it down and be with my family.
Yeah.
And if they're not around, then I really am spending time in the Word outside, laying on the couch, chilling, doing like just things that relax me, taking a bath, all of that, going for a walk. So I think I have become a little bit more intentional with coming home from trips, especially since we're going all the time, and then I do with Africa. But another thing I would say is I really like just something applicable for me is I am starting to learn how to, even if I have 10 minutes, like this morning, for instance, my kids, well, one of my kids was not gone yet, but I made myself some coffee. I knew she was doing her devotion. Jonathan and Olivia had left. She's spending time with Jesus. So I literally take my coffee. I'm in my bathrobe. And I walk out barefooted and just go stand in the grass and walk around. The breeze was blowing this morning. There is a little crisp, coolness in the air, and just kind of grounding myself and walking barefoot through the grass and just like thanking Jesus for the day. And like I felt very relaxed. And that was maybe 8 to 10 minutes just out there while Grace was spending time with Jesus. And I just took that. But I believe like we have to spend those in-between moments instead of saying, hey, laundry. I literally had laundry in the dryer. I could have go ahead and I could have folded those. But I was like, you know what? I need this more. I've got a busy day today. I'm going to be like speaking and talking with my friends, doing the podcast, all this. Like, I just need this time. And so I think like also be still cannot look like a long period of time, but just taking little moments throughout the day. That's why I love a bath. And some people are kind of like about that, but find that thing where I'm like, you know what? The girls are home. They're doing their homework. I'm literally going to go get in the bath, even if it's 4:00 because I've been going all day. So let me go chill in the bath for 30 minutes while they're doing their homework. Cause I can't spend time with them anyways. And they're good. Make sure they're good and then go. So I feel like I have become more intentional with that. So I do feel more rested, even though people will tell me, Mom, I love you. You're just always going, all this kind of stuff. But really my heart and my spirit, there are definitely times Catherine, our friend, will definitely get on to me. She's like, are you resting? And I was like, no, I'm not. But thank you for holding me accountable. I'll go do something. So there are still those times, but I really try to be intentional throughout the day and find those times to help. Because I think rest is to stop striving. Yeah. To be still means to stop striving. Yeah. So I love what you're saying, Stephanie. And I think we all can go there in our own ways, whether that's with our kids or work, is to be still, is stop striving, but you're still trying to strive in your be still time.
Exactly.
So how do we combat that for someone that is a striver?
Well, honestly, I don't even know how to explain this other than realizing that it's kind of a sin to never do what he's asked us to do with Sabbath rest.
Yeah.
And that's where I had to come to is just, Stephanie, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. This is, production. The Lord doesn't care about production. He cares about your heart. And so I think just realizing that spiritually, it kind of got a hold of me a little different this time. Because you can hear it all day long. But once again, I say, for some reason, something connected. And if you can make that connection of, oh, I am disobeying the Lord, ultimately, when I'm doing this to myself. And then I'm causing other people to see what I'm doing and go, well, gosh, should I be doing more?
Right.
I must not be doing enough. And pushing other people to have that striving mindset. And I think we've done it to even this generation of kids. I talk with college students each week, and I'm noticing how busy, not just college students, but even the older, especially the older high schoolers, how busy they are. Yeah. They feel like they have to be productive all the time. They're at school. They're then trying to take college courses before they're even at college age. So they're pretty much done, super fast, as if that's going to make it any better. Yeah. They are striving they have jobs that they go to. Then they have sports. They have band, all of these different things. And it's different than when we were in school.
Yeah, I mean, even with the younger kids, like my kids will literally finish doing something and we haven't moved on to what's next yet. And they'll come in and be like, I'm bored. And I'm like, but you literally just stopped reading your book or you literally just stopped cleaning your room.
They don't know how to be still.
They don't know how to, they do not know how to have margin or be still or like be bored.
No.
And we have to teach them how to be bored. Like,
Right.
I mean, I literally like have told my girls, no, go be bored.
Yeah.
Like I tell them that it's okay to be bored. That's why we go camping, because not all the time there are things, there's not TVs and electronics and all of that.
Yeah.
Like go outside and go look at the trees, go do something. Like we have to as adults be better at that.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard, but they're seeing us completely busy all the time. Therefore they're doing the same thing we are.
And we wonder why there's so much anxiety.
Because there was not anxiety like this when we were, I don't even remember hearing that word anxiety growing up.
Well, you think about it, like cell phones had like just become a thing when we were, you know, I don't even know how long ago was
I
that?
would say like a junior and senior for me, and I'm the oldest.
And it wasn't even, for me, junior and senior,
Yeah.
I didn't even have one where I could text and
neither.
stuff. That was
No.
like very few kids actually had that
Right.
I got it
capability.
in college.
But like you think about like anytime you get a text message, you feel like you need to respond right away.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there used to be no texting. There used to be no cell phones. And so like if you had to call somebody on their landline, like and they didn't answer, then you tried again later. Like it wasn't like this sense of urgency, like, oh, I have to respond to them. They're gonna think that I'm upset with them if I don't respond. They're gonna think that I just completely forgot. Like there's this it's just this constant urgency in our day and age now. And it's crazy. Like if you can make yourself try to go back to like what it used to look like and just be like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to respond right away. Like if it's an emergency, like obviously respond, but obviously if it's an emergency, they can call you too.
Exactly. Well, and when you say that, like one of the things that I shared at retreat in Minnesota was something that I was learning because where you're coming out with the phones and calendar and all of that, I can let that affect me, especially with come away stuff, because people are constantly text messaging me stuff or we're getting emails. And for me, the Lord, like really, I was just getting so like I just felt heightened.
Yeah.
And I was like, why do I feel heightened? Why do I feel like on edge? And and it literally, the Lord was like, you are letting other people control your calendar.
Right.
Like you're letting other people control your day. And I was like, okay, yep, I sure am. And so I remember who was texting me at that time. It was a come away thing. I was like, I don't have to answer you, nor do I need to set that meeting just because it makes you happy.
Right.
I don't have to. I can say, no, that does not work for me. But in 2 weeks, it will.
Right.
You know, like I was letting, because working from home and ministry things, we think that we have to be at someone's beck and call because everything is at our fingertips now.
Right.
So now people expect that.
Yeah.
And we literally have to create a new culture of going, you don't need me right now. And I don't have to schedule around your schedule. I can do it when I can do it.
Right.
For the sake of me being intentional about resting, taking my Sabbath, and also spending time with my family.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it does have to do with like like the fear of what somebody else is going to think. Like you're talking about like that, the judgment from Martha, like it truly, and a lot of time it is ourselves. Like, at least for me, I feel like I'm letting myself down. It's more so myself than somebody else. You know, I don't know. It's like a
I
weird.
can definitely go there, like in the past, not as much recently, but I will say, like, confess that, like, sometimes y'all will be doing something because they do a lot more of the techie stuff together. Like, if they're texting, doing something, and I'm resting for like 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, I feel like I should be doing something because they're doing something. And then I'm like, I have to like really talk myself out of it. I was like, just because they're working doesn't mean I have to.
Right. And that's
Like,
hard. It's hard.
And so that's that preconceived, like what you're talking about.
Well, what's funny is that's one of the things the Lord spoke to me was that rest is contagious. So just like being productive can get contagious because people are thinking, oh, well, everybody's moving. Maybe I should be doing something.
Right.
That's what I felt. Yeah.
And like, and subconsciously, it's like we're all doing this to each other without even realizing. Nobody's doing anything wrong.
No.
It's just we're automatically going, oh, but if we made it normal, to say, hey guys, I'm taking 15 or I'm taking, 10 minutes to go and just be quiet or whatever. If I don't respond, that's where I'm at,
Yeah.
If you really want to say that, you don't really even have to say that. You just put your phone on do not disturb for 10 minutes.
Right.
And make that like a normal behavior and that it is okay. Then perhaps maybe other people will find permission, be like, oh, that sounds nice. Maybe I should try that.
Yeah. And I would say like one practical thing that we just implemented, which I think, for me, it has honestly, truly been so helpful for my brain, the way that it works. But we have a group text between the three of us that's, it's PWTA. And anytime we ever want to communicate with each other, that's what we would use. And when I came back from the Minnesota retreat, I was like, I need business hours. Like, how can we make this work? And so I brought to the table, I was like, hey, can we create a separate group text that has a different picture as the icon? Like, it's just for like friendship type stuff and not just ministry stuff. And so between, after a certain time, like when the kids get home from school, I recommended that, and just ask, hey, if it's business related or ministry related, like let's not text it in that group. Like let's save it for the next day. Like put a reminder on your phone or whatever it may be, just so that none of us feel like we have to like do something right then, because it's a temptation to read it. It's a temptation to want to get started to work on it, or at least for me it is. And so, and I know that, yes, I can turn on do not disturb and all of that, but I still see it. Like you can still see when somebody's texted something new in it. And so for my brain, I was like, this would be so helpful. Can we please try this? And it really has helped like so much.
All of that. So good. And it made me think again about that be still time I had with the Lord. And there was one thing that I felt just in my spirit that he was saying, and I wrote it down. It was after I felt like he said, it was okay if you fall asleep with me, like take a nap. And I wrote down, the work doesn't stop when you cease striving. You can't make anything happen the way I make everything happen. Give yourself rest. And so once again, we've talked about this before about a God complex where we think that, well, if we don't do it, it doesn't get done and then something's going to fall apart. But God is a big God.
Right.
And he can take care of everything without our help. He doesn't necessarily need us. He wants us. He wants to be in a relationship with us. He chooses in his goodness to use us. But the world is not going to fall apart if we take a step back and rest, like we've been told to. And in that moment, it was just, okay, you don't need me. You want me, which is so much more freeing and so much more beautiful than thinking that I could mess up God's plans. Hear me when I say, I don't mean that we don't at least, listen for his voice and follow him. Okay. But if we screw up, guess what? There's grace. And he is there, and he will say, you know what? Take a break. You need a rest for a minute. Get yourself together before you step back into this. That's okay. We don't have to just keep like forcing our way through, like, oh, but I got to keep going. I got to just truck on through. I've made a mistake. Oh my gosh, now I got to prove myself. No, you don't. That's what I have to tell myself. No, you're not proving anything to anyone.
Yeah. Well, you don't need a badge for like striving.
Right.
Like, and I think that's the thing in this day and age, that no one goes around. What do you hear the most? Oh, just been so busy. No one's like, oh, it's just been so good. I've rested so much. No one wants to say that, because then you sound lazy and then you sound like you're doing nothing. So it's like we really have to like communicate differently to give people like permission to go, oh, wait, she didn't just say she was so busy. Like, because it's like we get a check if we're the busiest. Like we have to really change our vocabulary to make it sound more normal, that, oh, actually, like, man, like we did nothing yesterday and it was so good.
Yeah.
Because if you say that and to the wrong people, they'll be like, what do they do with their life? They're so lazy. Ugh. Like I did 20 things yesterday. Like, well, so you know what I mean?
Needs to become more normal.
It's become more normal that the more busier, the more spiritual you are, when truly it's the opposite. The less busy and resting and being still with the Lord, then you're actually going to be more productive with what God has truly called you to do. Because I think a lot of our busyness is out of saying yes to the wrong things a lot of times. But if we're really still with him and resting, then we're actually probably going to say no a lot more. Like, no, I actually can't
not
meet.
the right thing.
I actually don't do anything on Thursday. So, but I can schedule you for next week, you know, and go in Thursday, I'm going to be by myself, you know, or I'm going to take that morning, you know, if your kids are at school, like, but if you're homeschooling, then you're like, man, I know like when my husband gets home, I can have this couple of hours. Then you make it happen. It's almost like we need to start scheduling in Sabbath time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I definitely have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how my brain works.
And Mondays usually is like what it used to be, but I really would say I'm not really great at that anymore, but I got to get back because I really like that to kind of, because Sundays are so busy.
Yeah.
But you find what works for you. But I do believe, like, hear us when we say rest doesn't have to look a certain way.
Yeah. And I would say, like, for those of you who are like me and Stephanie and like to be productive, and if you're like me, you feel like you have to constantly be doing something. One thing that it has helped me, at least around the house, like with laundry and practical things like that, because you do have to prepare. I mean, you've heard it said, you have to prepare for Sabbath. You have to prepare for that sweet time, that intentional time. And so if I know myself and I know that I'm going to be tempted to do those things, like just like setting this group text message, like that was almost like a preparation for Sabbath in a way. But I usually on Saturday, because Saturdays are kind of slow mornings, it's a slow morning, but I find that if I just throw all of my laundry in there and get it all at least washed and dried, then I don't have to do anything to set up for the week, you know, so that, you know, after school and when my kids are at school or whatever, I'm able to be productive with what I need to when they're gone. And then when they come home, I don't have any laundry to do because I did it all the weekend before to prepare for the week. And so I think, like Jessica said, you got to find what works for you. You know what you're tempted in. And so just prepare for your Sabbath and your be still time with your family or whatever it is, whatever that intentional time looks like.
Make it priority. It's okay to make it priority.
That's right.
I think it has to be priority. I think that's where we've gone
Exactly.
into a tizzy, is that we're not ministry leaders and people in general are not spending time resting.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to turn into a real cranky person and you're going to be lashing out on the church members and everything else if you're not coming from a place of rest.
Yeah.
Right.
You just are. It's natural.
Yep.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
So true. Okay, guys. So what do you need to go do right now? You know, just turn this podcast off right now. Go turn it off and go get you some rest on.
Get you some rest on. Get your rest on.
Get your rest on. Get your rest on, sister.
Do it right now.
We love you guys. Go be still.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, friends, if you have enjoyed this episode as much as we have, please help us spread the word on Facebook and Instagram.
If you didn't know yet, Instagram is where all the fun is at. From dance reels on Wednesdays to spiritual encouragement and laugh out loud posts in between, there is something for everyone.
And last but certainly not least, if you could take a moment right now to stop what you're doing and give us a rating and review, even subscribe to our podcast, this seriously helps other people find us who wouldn't be able to otherwise. Thank you so much for your love and support. We hope you'll tune in next week.